Have you ever looked at something broken or forgotten, and wondered if it could still shine? Here at Modhouse DIY, we believe every piece of trash carries a hidden story waiting to be told. In today's video, from trash to timeless charm, 15 DIY upcycled garden characters and borders for tiny yards and backyards, you'll see how junk becomes beauty, how small spaces can feel magical with just a little creativity. This video comes with timestamps, so you can jump to the ideas you need. If you have questions, leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you. And if something here inspires you, don't just watch, try it, shape it, make it your own. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this channel, there's a real story, and a real family. This isn't just a video. It's a piece of my heart. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it truly matters. When you hit that button, you're not only helping a creator grow. You're keeping a dream alive. You're giving a small family hope, one click at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. There is a certain kind of poetry in giving new life to something that once seemed destined for the shadows of the junkyard. The rustic tire swan border is one such transformation, a simple idea that grows into a symbol of grace and quiet charm in a garden. At first glance, the swans appear almost sculptural, their curved necks arched in timeless elegance, wings suggested by the carefully cut edges of the old rubber. Painted in shades of white, ivory, or even a gentle pastel, they stand as guardians of the blooms they encircle. Imagine walking along a cottage path where chrysanthemums burst with gold and maroon, marigolds glow like little suns, and asters bring the calm of violet dusk. The swans frame them all, guiding the eye while softening the edges of the beds. Each recycled tire, once black and forgotten, now wears a coat of renewal, proof that beauty does not come from perfection, but from imagination. Children in the family may see them as fairy creatures watching over the flowers. Guests may pause, surprised at how something so ordinary could feel so magical when placed among the greenery. The border becomes not just a practical divider but a gentle invitation to linger, to bend down and notice the bees drifting from sedum to anemone, to breathe in the crisp air of autumn. In the backyard, perhaps near a pergola draped with climbing vines, a row of these tire swans creates a stage for color. Each one can cradle soil and plants within its hollow form, turning function into flourish. And as the light shifts through the day, the painted surfaces catch sun and shadow, giving each swan a slightly different character. This is more than DIY, it is the art of slowing down, of crafting beauty with your own hands in the spaces where life unfolds most intimately. The rustic tire swan border is at once whimsical and grounded, charming and eco-friendly, a reminder that even the humblest material can become part of a story worth telling. There is something deeply nostalgic about an old suitcase. Its scratches tell of journeys once taken, of hands that carried it through stations and roads. In the garden, that story continues, but with a new purpose. Instead of gathering dust in an attic, the vintage suitcase becomes a tower of life, painted in soft pastels or rustic farmhouse hues, then filled with soil and color. Imagine a small yard where space feels limited. In a quiet corner, stacked suitcases rise upward like a whimsical tower, each layer spilling over with blossoms. The marigolds shine with golden brightness, the chrysanthemums spread their sturdy petals, while trailing ivy softens the edges as though time itself has grown roots here. The garden suddenly feels taller, more vibrant, as if a little patch of earth decided to stretch itself toward the sky. On a patio, 1 or 2 suitcases might be enough, painted in shabby chic white, decorated with delicate stencils, then planted with asters and Japanese anemones. Their blooms nod gently in the breeze, catching the afternoon sun. Guests will smile when they realize what they are looking at. Once an object of travel, now a vessel of renewal. It is a kind of magic that transforms not just the space but the way people see what is possible. In the front yard, where neighbors pass by, a tower of painted luggage brimming with autumn joy sedum can feel like a cheerful greeting. It adds height and surprise where perhaps only flat flower beds once lived. Even in a tiny garden, these suitcases create presence, a vertical sculpture that draws the eye, that makes small spaces feel abundant. The beauty lies not only in the flowers but in the story each suitcase carries. They speak of thrift and imagination, of turning junk into joy. The chipped handles and metal clasps, freshly painted and gleaming under sunlight, remind us that everything has the chance to be more than what it was. And as the season shifts, the colors of the blooms change, yet the tower remains sturdy, charming, quietly proud. A piece of the past, rooted now in the present, helping a tiny garden bloom with character and life. Every garden gate is an invitation, and sometimes it whispers a story before you even step inside. The idea of turning discarded plastic jugs into fairy guards brings a sense of playfulness, as if the garden itself has its own protectors, small and cheerful, waiting to welcome each visitor. Picture an old detergent jug, once nothing more than a container for chores, now reshaped with paint and a gentle cut of scissors. A splash of lavender, a dash of sky blue, perhaps golden wings painted along the curve, and suddenly it is no longer trash, but a fairy figure. When placed beside a wooden gate, these whimsical guardians transform the entrance into something magical. They stand as sentinels, smiling at every passerby, watching over chrysanthemums glowing in gold and marigolds flickering like sparks of light. In a front yard, where roses climb gracefully across an arching trellis, 2 jug fairies flank the gate. They don't intimidate, instead, they charm. Neighbors slow down to notice, children tug at their parents' sleeves and point. The garden feels less like a patch of soil and more like the threshold to a storybook. Each painted jug carries the joy of upcycling, a reminder that even the most ordinary material can hold delight when given imagination. Along a backyard fence, a line of smaller jug fairies stand shoulder to shoulder. Painted in cheerful shades of pink, mint, and butter yellow, they peek out from among asters and sedum autumn joy. As the afternoon sun dips low, their colors catch the fading light, and for a moment it feels as though the garden is alive with quiet guardianship. There is both humor and heart in these figures. They are not perfect sculptures but playful creations, born from human hands and a desire to make beauty out of waste. And that is what makes them powerful. They remind us that gardens need not be serious to be beautiful. They can be whimsical, light-hearted, and still deeply meaningful. The plastic jug fairy guards give a second life to what once was disposable. In their painted wings and friendly faces, they embody the spirit of DIY, practical, creative, and filled with wonder. There is an undeniable charm in objects that carry the weight of history. The old milk can, once a vessel of daily life on farmhouse porches, finds a new story when placed in the garden. Strong, cylindrical, and full of character, these cans, painted in soft farmhouse hues, stand proudly as fence posts, transforming utility into beauty. Picture a rustic fence where, instead of plain wooden stakes, weathered milk cans rise at intervals, their surfaces freshly painted in cream, sage green, or faded blue. Some carry hand-painted wildflowers across their sides, daisies, marigolds, asters, a small touch that brings them to life. They are not just posts, they are storytellers, each one holding echoes of the past and blending them into the rhythm of the garden. At the front yard gate, two milk cans stand like guardians, anchoring the wooden entrance. Around them, chrysanthemums bloom in deep autumn tones, while sedum autumn joy glows pink against the rustic metal. Ivy winds its way up the sides, softening the edges, reminding us that even sturdy objects are made gentler by nature's touch. Guests passing through this gate pause, drawn to the unexpected detail. What might have been discarded as junk becomes, instead, a signature feature, a nod to both thrift and imagination. In the backyard, milk cans hold an even greater surprise. Each one, topped with a shallow planter, cradles marigolds and Japanese anemones. The blooms spill over, softening the strength of the metal below. A row of these living fence anchors turns a simple boundary into a celebration of color and life. By sunset, the painted surfaces glow warm under fading light, and the flowers seem to hover above them like crowns. What makes this design so compelling is not only its practicality but its character. Milk cans are durable, heavy enough to stand firm against the wind, yet filled with nostalgia that whispers of a simpler time. To give them new life as part of a garden fence is to weave history into present beauty. With each brush of paint, each wildflower planted nearby, the cans shift from relics to treasures. They remind us that elegance does not always come from what is new, but often from what is reborn. There is a joy that only color can bring, a simple brightness that transforms even the smallest space into something alive. The plastic bottle rainbow hedge is born from that spirit, an idea that turns waste into wonder, trash into celebration. What was once clear or dull plastic becomes, with a brush of paint, a kaleidoscope of cheer that frames the flowers of a garden. On a small patio, where space is precious, this hedge stands not just as a border but as a statement. Each bottle, painted in bold shades of red, yellow, blue, or green, lines up with its companions to create a playful rhythm of color. Behind them, marigolds blaze with golden light, asters scatter their purple stars, and chrysanthemums lift their sturdy blooms. The rainbow bottles reflect sunlight, echoing the energy of the flowers they surround. In a backyard corner, where perhaps a fence feels too plain, the bottles offer contrast. Arranged tightly together, they form a low hedge that is at once practical and delightful. Sedum autumn joy leans toward them, its late-season blossoms deepening the harmony of hues. Japanese anemones, pale and graceful, rise above, softening the boldness with their quiet beauty. The bottles do not compete with the plants, they frame them, making the blossoms feel even brighter, like jewels against a canvas. For the front yard, a rainbow hedge greets neighbors and visitors with playful charm. Children laugh as they pass, pointing out their favorite color. Adults smile at the unexpected creativity, something so simple, yet so eye-catching. And when placed near a pergola wrapped in ivy, the hedge becomes part of a layered story, rustic greenery above, cheerful bottles below, and a bed of flowers singing in between. What makes this idea special is its accessibility. Plastic bottles are everywhere, often tossed aside without thought. But when collected, cleaned, and painted, they become building blocks of joy. They show that beauty does not require wealth, only imagination. A rainbow hedge does more than edge a garden. It lifts the spirit of the space, reminding everyone who sees it that color is a kind of hope, and hope is always worth planting. Sometimes the garden calls for a place to pause, not just to walk past the flowers, but to sit among them, to listen to the hum of bees and the rustle of leaves. The painted drum bench with border blooms answers that call beautifully, blending seating with a story of transformation. What was once an industrial drum, heavy and unloved, now wears new colors. A coat of soft cream, a splash of teal, perhaps even a faded farmhouse red. Some bear hand-painted patterns of daisies and asters, others are left simple and rustic. Wooden planks stretch across them, forming benches that invite you to linger. They are not just functional but filled with character, each one a piece of upcycled art. Placed along the edge of a flower border, the effect is enchanting. Imagine sitting on a drum bench while marigolds flicker like tiny suns at your feet, while chrysanthemums hold their proud heads high in gold and crimson. Asters scatter violet blooms, while sedum autumn joy blushes pink in the cool air. The bench becomes more than a seat, it is a vantage point, a way to experience the garden at eye level with its blooms. In the backyard, near a pergola draped in climbing ivy, the drum bench creates a sanctuary. Guests are drawn to it, surprised at how something so ordinary could feel so inviting. Children climb up, laughing, while adults settle down to sip tea and talk. The metal, once destined for scrap, now carries laughter and rest. In the front yard, the bench offers charm to neighbors passing by. The painted drums brighten a small space, their cheerful hues echoing the blooms beside them. At dusk, when lanterns begin to glow, the bench becomes a little stage for conversations, a place where stories are exchanged as freely as the fragrance of the flowers. The beauty of this idea lies in its balance, sturdy yet gentle, recycled yet renewed. It reminds us that comfort can come from creativity, and that even in the smallest spaces, we can craft places to sit, breathe, and belong. The painted drum bench is not just furniture, it is a gesture of welcome, a reminder that gardens are made for people as much as for plants. There is a sweetness in the unexpected, in finding charm where no one thought to look. The shabby chic teapot edging brings exactly that, a playful, poetic twist to the borders of a garden, especially in spaces where every detail matters. These teapots, once tucked away in kitchen cupboards or forgotten on shelves, return to life under the open sky, painted fresh in soft pastels and lined neatly along pathways. Imagine a tiny cottage garden where the path is not edged with stones, but with teapots in hues of cream, mint, and blush pink. Their curved handles and spouts peek outward, each vessel overflowing with marigolds or asters. The blooms tumble gently, softening the porcelain edges, creating the impression that the flowers themselves have been poured from the pots. Every step down this path feels like entering a fairy tale, where practicality and whimsy meet. In the front yard, a border of vintage teapots stands proudly, their surfaces painted white and decorated with faded floral patterns. Some hold chrysanthemums bursting with autumnal tones, while others cradle trailing ivy that spills gracefully toward the soil. Between them, sedum autumn joy glows in shades of pink, and Japanese anemones sway lightly in the breeze. Neighbors passing by pause, caught by the detail, so unexpected, yet so fitting, a secret smile in the garden's design. On a small patio, the teapots gather again, this time painted in shabby chic rose motifs, lined up beneath a pergola corner. Asters rise from their mouths in purple and white, while marigolds glow like embers against the soft pastel ceramic. In the evening light, the row becomes a ribbon of color and form, guiding the eye and warming the space. The magic of this idea is its blend of intimacy and creativity. Teapots are small, unassuming, yet full of personality. As garden edging, they remind us that borders need not be plain. They can be playful, charming, and deeply personal. The shabby chic teapot edging is not only eco-friendly but also a gentle expression of hospitality, a way of saying that beauty can be poured generously, even from the humblest vessel. A gazebo has always been more than a structure. It is a place to pause, to linger, to gather. When built with bamboo, its beauty lies not only in its form but in its harmony with the earth. Lightweight yet strong, bamboo carries a sense of balance, a reminder of growth and resilience. Add to this the gentle sparkle of hanging bottles, and the space transforms into a sanctuary of light and color. In the backyard, the bamboo gazebo rises like a natural sculpture. Its poles, warm and golden, weave together to form a frame that feels both rustic and refined. From the beams hang rows of bottles, upcycled and painted in cheerful hues. Some hold candles, glowing softly as dusk settles, others cradle marigolds and asters, their blooms swaying gently in the breeze. Around the gazebo, chrysanthemums bloom in gold and burgundy, completing the circle of warmth. The air here feels alive with both nature and imagination. At the front yard, a smaller bamboo gazebo greets guests like a playful welcome. Pastel-painted bottles hang delicately, catching sunlight and scattering it in glimmers across the garden. Below, sedum autumn joy and Japanese anemones bloom, their quiet elegance grounding the light-hearted shimmer above. It is a simple gesture, yet it changes everything. The gazebo no longer just shades, it shines. On a patio, where space is limited, the bamboo structure becomes a pergola-like corner. Vines climb eagerly up its posts, weaving green into gold. Bottles dangle here too, but some have been filled with soil, turned into tiny planters. Marigolds spill from their mouths, asters rise with purple and white petals, the flowers mingling with the bottle's bright glass. In the afternoon sun, this corner glows with life, a mixture of practicality and poetry. The charm of this eco-friendly design lies not just in aesthetics but in philosophy. Bamboo grows fast, replenishing itself with ease. Bottles, once destined for waste, are reborn as lanterns and planters. Together, they create a gazebo that speaks of balance, between reuse and renewal, between beauty and responsibility. In such a space, people linger longer. Conversations soften, tea tastes sweeter, and the garden feels complete. The bamboo gazebo with hanging bottles is not only a structure but a song, of color, light, and the quiet art of living gently with the earth. There is a quiet beauty in tools that once built, repaired, and carried the weight of work. Old toolboxes, with their sturdy frames and weathered handles, hold a kind of honesty. When repurposed into herb borders, they carry that honesty into the garden, blending practicality with rustic farmhouse charm. Imagine a gravel path edged not with bricks or stone, but with a row of painted toolboxes. Their metal sides, once dull, are now fresh with coats of sage green, cream, or farmhouse red. Inside, herbs rise in fragrant tufts, rosemary with its silvery needles, basil with broad green leaves, thyme trailing softly over the edges. Between them, marigolds and asters bloom, weaving color into the line of greenery. The path feels alive, edged not only by plants but by memory and craft. In the front yard, vintage toolboxes painted in shabby chic pastels rest against a picket fence. Their lids are propped open, spilling parsley, oregano, and chrysanthemums in shades of gold and crimson. The effect is whimsical, a mix of utility and delight. Neighbors pause to admire how something so ordinary, once tucked away in a workshop, now frames the garden with grace. On a backyard patio, faded blue and red toolboxes stand as borders near a pergola corner. Sedum autumn joy glows pink above their edges, mingling with basil and marigolds. Ivy climbs nearby posts, connecting the scene with soft green threads. The toolboxes seem perfectly at home here, their industrial past softened by leaves and blossoms. Guests sit nearby, enjoying the fragrance of fresh herbs as much as the colors of the flowers. The beauty of these toolbox herb borders is their blend of strength and tenderness. They remind us that containers need not be new or polished to carry life. With a little paint and imagination, the weight of the past becomes a cradle for the present, food for the kitchen, color for the eyes, fragrance for the soul. It is farmhouse style at its best, practical, thrifty, and full of character. In every herb border, the toolboxes speak of work and rest, of yesterday and today, of the simple truth that nothing is ever too old to bloom again. There is something timeless about lantern light in the garden. It softens the night, warms the air, and makes even the smallest space feel like a gathering place. When crafted from old oil cans, the lanterns carry not only light but also a story of transformation, a rough piece of metal reborn into a delicate vessel of glow. Picture a backyard gazebo framed by a rustic fence. Along the posts, oil cans stand, freshly painted in cream, teal, or farmhouse red. Their surfaces, once dull and industrial, are cut with star-shaped and floral patterns. As dusk falls, candles inside flicker, and the light escapes through the cutouts, scattering shapes across the ground and flowers nearby. Marigolds catch the glow, chrysanthemums shimmer softly, and the whole garden feels touched by a gentle kind of magic. At the front yard, the lanterns take on another role, welcoming guests. Painted in shabby chic pastels, decorated with vines and roses, they hang from fence posts like ornaments. During the day, they charm with color, at night, they shine. Around them, asters and sedum autumn joy bloom, weaving light and life together. Ivy climbs quietly up the posts, as though reaching toward the lanterns, drawn to their brightness. Neighbors passing by pause, their eyes caught by the unexpected detail. On a small patio, oil cans become intimate companions. Painted in white and sage green, they line the gazebo corner. Cut with perforations of tiny dots and swirls, the lanterns glow with warm light. Japanese anemones bloom around their bases, soft petals opening even as the night grows cool. Here, the cans no longer feel like junk but like art, crafted with care and love for the space they illuminate. The beauty of this idea lies in its contrast, heavy metal made into something fragile, rough edges softened by the presence of flowers and light. It is proof that elegance can be found in the most unexpected places. These oil can lanterns are more than decoration. They are memory holders, storytellers, and companions to every evening spent beneath the gazebo. With each flicker of flame, they remind us that light is not only something we see, it is something we make, with our own hands, from what we already have. Sometimes the garden is not only a place of beauty but also of joy. The cutest animal planters made from detergent jugs bring that sense of play, turning the act of recycling into something that makes people smile. Each jug, once a plain container for soap, is reshaped into a creature, cat, dog, rabbit, owl, or even hedgehog, and suddenly the garden feels alive with character. In a backyard corner, the planters line a rustic fence. A row of cats with painted whiskers sit proudly, their heads filled with marigolds glowing orange and gold. Next to them, rabbits with floppy ears carry asters in shades of purple, while dogs painted in cheerful tones guard chrysanthemums in deep burgundy. The flowers spill like manes and tails, completing the illusion that these little creatures belong among the blooms. Guests laugh as they pass, children crouch down to greet the animals, and the garden feels warmer, brighter, more alive. Along a front yard path, foxes and owls crafted from jugs stand as edging. Their eyes are painted wide, their colors bold. Sedum autumn joy rises from their backs in pink tufts, while Japanese anemones nod gracefully nearby. The path becomes a playful journey, each step accompanied by a new character to discover. On a patio, pigs painted pink cradle marigolds, hedgehogs bristle with asters, and turtles carry small herbs or sedum. They are arranged near a pergola corner, where ivy climbs upward as though to watch the gathering below. In the evening, as lanterns glow, the animal planters seem to take on their own personalities, guardians of laughter and companions to conversation. What makes this idea shine is not just the charm of the animals but the way it bridges generations. Children delight in the characters, while adults admire the cleverness of the upcycling. Everyone sees the beauty of turning trash into treasure, of finding imagination in what was once routine. The detergent jug animal planters remind us that gardens do not have to be serious to be meaningful. They can be whimsical, light-hearted, and still carry depth. In every painted eye and playful ear, there is a story, of creativity, of sustainability, and of joy shared freely with anyone who steps into the garden. is something wonderfully poetic about a wheelbarrow in the garden. Once a tool of work, meant for hauling soil and stone, it becomes, when painted and planted, a vessel of beauty. The rustic wheelbarrow edging turns labor into art, giving shape and story to the borders of a garden. In the backyard, imagine a gravel path framed not by plain stones but by a series of old wheelbarrows. Their wood and metal, once worn by years of use, are now fresh with coats of farmhouse colors, faded teal, rustic cream, or sage green. Inside each one, chrysanthemums blaze in golden yellows and deep burgundies. The blooms overflow, softening the edges of the barrows, turning the line into a moving ribbon of color. The border feels alive, as though the garden itself remembers its past labors with pride and now wears flowers as its reward. In the front yard, smaller wheelbarrows painted in shabby chic pastels stand neatly against a fence. They carry marigolds like cups of fire, asters like scattered stars, and chrysanthemums in hues of autumn dusk. Sedum autumn joy and Japanese anemones rise beside them, creating layers of texture and tone. Guests arriving through the gate pause here, charmed by the sight of tools reborn as treasures, of hard work turned into quiet joy. On a patio corner, the wheelbarrows gather again, placed near a pergola draped with climbing ivy. Their rustic paint glows softly in the light, and the blooms within spill outward, welcoming anyone who sits nearby. The air carries both fragrance and memory, the fragrance of flowers, the memory of hands that once pushed these barrows across soil. Now they stand still, their motion carried only by petals shifting in the breeze. What makes this design so endearing is the story it tells. It reminds us that gardens are not just built with tools, but shaped by imagination. A wheelbarrow need not be retired to the shadows when it can stand proudly, carrying life instead of load. The rustic wheelbarrow edging is more than practical, it is sentimental. It honors the past, celebrates the present, and creates a border that is not just functional but deeply human, infused with the spirit of work and the beauty of bloom. A pergola is already a beautiful structure, its beams invite vines to climb, its shade welcomes rest. But when accented with butterflies cut from upcycled bottles, it becomes something more, a cottage stage alive with color, light, and imagination. Picture a rustic pergola in a backyard corner, where roses and an ivy curl upward. From its beams hang butterflies fashioned from discarded bottles, their wings cut with careful hands, painted in hues of orange, blue, and yellow. As sunlight filters through, the wings catch it, glowing like fragments of stained glass. Beneath them, marigolds burst with gold, asters scatter purple petals, and chrysanthemums stand proudly in shades of burgundy. The entire space feels like a secret garden where nature and creativity dance together. In the front yard, a smaller pergola offers charm to guests even before they step inside. Bottle butterflies cling lightly to bamboo trellis beams, each painted with delicate details. Some shimmer in metallic tones, others in pastel shades. Around them, sedum autumn joy blushes pink while Japanese anemones sway in the late summer breeze. Beneath the pergola, a simple bench invites people to sit, to look upward, and to smile at the surprise of butterflies frozen in flight. The beauty of this idea lies in its playfulness. Plastic bottles, often dismissed as nothing more than waste, transform into symbols of freedom. Their wings, once destined for landfill, now hold light and color, fluttering forever above a garden. Children marvel at them, chasing the real butterflies that come to visit the flowers below. Adults admire the cleverness of the design, the way imagination can turn trash into poetry. By evening, when lanterns glow from within the pergola, the bottle butterflies cast soft shadows across the beams. Their colors deepen, and the space becomes intimate, alive with both natural and handmade wonder. They remind us that beauty is not only what we see, but what we create. The cottage pergola with bottle butterflies is more than a decoration. It is a reminder that every object can take flight if given vision. In their wings, the garden carries joy, color, and the spirit of transformation. There is something soothing about the rhythm of the sea, its waves, its colors, its endless motion. The tiny seascape fence made from painted tires brings a hint of that calm into the garden, even in the smallest of spaces. Tires, once black and forgotten, are cut, shaped, and painted in blues of every shade: deep navy, gentle aqua, shimmering turquoise. Together, they form waves that no tide could wash away, a border as playful as it is practical. In the front yard, these blue-painted tires stand as a low fence, framing a flower bed that bursts with marigolds, asters, and chrysanthemums. The warm oranges, purples, and golds of the blooms glow against the cool blues of the fence. It is like fire meeting water, each color amplifying the other. Passers-by pause, struck by the unusual harmony, smiling at the way something so ordinary could feel like a piece of ocean set into a garden. In the backyard, half-buried tires create a line that curves like rolling waves. Painted in gradients of seafoam and turquoise, they catch the afternoon light, their shapes softened by sedum autumn joy blooming nearby. Japanese anemones rise above in pale elegance, swaying like seafoam caught in the wind. The fence does not only mark the garden's boundary, it tells a story of movement, of seas remembered, of summers by the shore. On a patio, where space is tighter, the seascape fence becomes even more magical. Tires are cut into arcs, forming patterns that echo waves. The blues are brighter here, playful against ivy climbing up the fence. Inside the curve, asters and marigolds bloom like treasures hidden beneath the tide. The corner feels alive, both grounded in earth and touched by water's memory. The beauty of this design lies in its ability to bring distant places closer. Even if the sea is far away, its spirit lingers here in color and form. Children see waves frozen mid-motion, adults feel nostalgia for coastlines visited long ago. The tiny seascape fence is more than recycled tires. It is a reminder that gardens can carry echoes of places we love, that trash can be turned into landscapes, and that imagination can make the ocean live again among flowers. Buckets are among the simplest of tools, plain, sturdy, and built for work. Yet when painted and placed in the garden, they become something more: vessels of beauty, brimming with flowers, lining borders like a row of cheerful sentinels. The autumn bloom borders made with upcycled metal buckets celebrate not only the season but also the art of renewal. In a backyard garden, old buckets stand freshly painted in autumn shades: burnt orange, deep red, mustard yellow. They form a neat edging along a gravel path, each one filled with marigolds glowing like tiny suns and chrysanthemums in burgundy and gold. Asters peek between them, softening the line with purple hues, while ivy spills over the rims in trailing green. The border feels alive with abundance, as though the garden itself is dressed for harvest celebration. In the front yard, the buckets take on a softer character. Painted in shabby chic creams and sage greens, they rest against a rustic wooden fence. Inside, sedum autumn joy glows pink against the pale paint, while Japanese anemones rise tall and elegant. The effect is refined yet welcoming, proof that even humble containers can hold elegance when placed with care. Visitors smile as they pass the gate, drawn in by the unexpected detail of old buckets turned into a living frame. On a patio, where space is scarce, the buckets form a colorful corner near a pergola. Painted in farmhouse pastels, they cradle asters and marigolds that spill like laughter from their edges. Climbing vines twine around the pergola, echoing the green of the ivy that trails from the buckets. The scene is cozy, layered, and full of charm, a little pocket of warmth in even the smallest space. What makes this design resonate is its honesty. Buckets are not ornamental by nature, they are tools, built to carry and contain. Yet in the garden, they become storytellers of thrift, creativity, and beauty. Their dents and handles are softened by paint, their purpose reshaped by flowers. The autumn bloom borders remind us that the simplest objects can frame joy. With color, with plants, with vision, even the plainest of containers can edge a garden with elegance, offering a reminder that every season, like every object, can bloom anew.